This is a meeting of the Upton Conservation Commission on Wednesday, May 24th at 7 p.m. And what we're going to do is our 7th o'clock NOI for Governor's Landing has been rescheduled till the 14th. And Mary, at what time?
We don't have a time yet.
Okay.
So shall we do them at 8 o'clock or?
Sure, we can do that, 8 o'clock. So can we take a motion to reschedule Governor's Landing for the 14th of June at 8 o'clock?
So moved.
Jada, second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Alan,
Mike,
aye.
Mike, aye. Sandy's on as well. Hello, Sandy.
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Hi there. Now, are you voting to continue Governor's Landing until the 14th at 8 o'clock?
Who, me?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
I wondered what you were all voting on.
How about Ellen?
I joined in. Everybody was saying aye. Sure.
Huh?
Whatever.
Okay. So it's a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission to continue the Governor's Landing hearing for an NOI at 8 o'clock on the 14th. And so we have a lot of other things to fill in the space right there. So how about the administrator's report, Mary?
All right. Yeah, so one of the things I did in the last 2 weeks was do a site walk at 0 Main Street, which is the property behind Pickering Funeral Home, which I believe the commission approved an ORAD there sometime recently within the last year or so. Kevin Lobister is proposing a 40B development for that site. They will be doing a temporary alteration of wetlands, about 815 square feet, for the installation of a sewer line on this site. We will have the opportunity to do comments on this. There are comments that are due to the mass housing people by June 8th, but they're not looking for technical comments. They just want general comments. So I figure there's no point in us submitting comments on that because once it goes through zoning, we'll have a chance to submit comments through the zoning board. So I figure that's probably when we will make our comments on that. I did get to see conceptual plans.
There'll be a filing too, right, Mary? There'll be a filing eventually.
No, because it's a 40B and they already have the ORAD. They already have the wetland line done.
Oh, all right.
So it's kind of sneaky. But I know Mike, the Antonellis, the planner, is very committed to making sure the zoning board gives a thorough review and will take our comments into consideration. So
remind me where the driveway is going in for that. Where's the frontage?
It's going into the left of the funeral home. It's kind of a narrow wooded area. There's a culvert there. They're going into the left of the culvert too.
Okay.
So that'll be kind of the closest permanent, because the culvert is where the wetland goes right under the road. So they're going to be really close to the wetland right there. But then they're staying pretty far away. I didn't get to look at the exact plans. I think at least 30 feet, maybe not 50. They don't have to follow our bylaw because it's a 40B development. Although they're not in the wetland really, except for that temporary alteration. And I think they're at least 30 feet away. So we'll make comments when we see the plans. I think the main thing is it's going to be pretty tall. It's going to be if you guys are familiar with I think it was 149 Main, that kind of new apartment building, it's going to be like that. So it may be 4 or 5 stories tall. So. All right, I went out to 108 Grove Street. I'll just share a picture from them. And the
Mary, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So didn't hear anything at all about this. So
Okay.
far.
So far, this is 108 Grove Street that we were looking at certificate of compliance for. Did you get that far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they were required to put in 20 trees, and I hadn't really counted them. So I went back to the site and counted. Now, they did not put them where they were indicated on the plans, but they do have 15 trees and 5 shrubs that they planted. So like these 3 trees, the conifers were planted, the maple. In here, there's a bunch of cedar and smaller like shrubs. So 5 of them were shrubs like hydrangea, that kind of stuff. This dogwood is part of it. And so behind me is the rest of the trees. So there are 20, 15 trees, 5 shrubs, plus there's 7 trees that they've allowed to grow right along the stream. So they are willing to put more in. But I would say they didn't exactly follow the plan, but they did put 20 plants in, 15 of them are trees. So if we decide that's okay, we can go ahead and issue that certificate of compliance for the 108 Grove Street project. If you guys want to look at the plan for that again, I can pull that up, or maybe you remember what it was. I'll pull it up while you're thinking about it.
I would be okay with leaving it, as is and issuing the certificate.
Yeah,
are there any particular types of trees? I think you mentioned that there were some of them were non-native, but are they like would this area benefit from like a couple more native shrubs or something?
Well, the other thing he did say is that that huge maple tree is, and you can see it, it's dumping seedlings all around their pool area. There's all these little baby maples, and he's planning on moving some of them and putting them near the stream. He tried moving one, so he is planning on doing that. So that seemed like, and I'm pretty sure I don't think that's a Norway. I'm pretty sure it was a sugar maple or a red maple. I didn't look at it closely. But.
As long as it's not Norway maple, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I felt pretty good about it. I mean, it's true they did not put them where they were supposed to, but this is kind of standing, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 feet away from the stream. And so they have to the left here kind of a shrubby area. And then closer to the house, they have lawn almost down to the stream. But.
Mary, do you think it's worth going back to check on that maple? See, that's not Norway.
I can do that.
Yeah, it's what everyone else thinks too. But,
yeah.
And if it is a Norway maple, how mature is it? Is it something that could be replaced or at least not encouraged? Like if we can get something else planted instead of.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a huge, beautiful. It's the biggest one of all the ones they planted. It's quite a nice size.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask them to cut it down, but if they could get their maple seedlings from another source,
Yes.
that would be.
That's what I was thinking too. Just let them
Okay.
find out if it is a Norway, and then let them know Norway maple bad. Don't let any more of them grow. That type of thing.
Right.
And if they want to put in a red maple or a Nissa near the stream, that would be great. But not a condition.
So do you guys want to conditionally approve this certificate of compliance as long as it's not a Norway maple?
Well, I would vote to actually approve it, but just
Okay.
with the understanding that we will take, the commission will communicate whether or not it's in Norway, and if it's in Norway, just advise them, maybe give them some literature on Norway maple, and
Yeah.
hopefully they're won't be transplanting a whole bunch of Norway maple seedlings.
Right.
It's just the size makes me suspicious.
Yeah, it is big.
That it's maybe Norway, and plus a nursery. Nurseries were selling them. So
All right. So do we want to have a vote on this?
make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for what's the address?
108 Grove Street.
108 Grove Street.
Second.
It's DEP number 311-618.
We're gonna vote on it?
Oh, Chris is muted.
Oh. Her cat must have stepped on this.
Okay, I am making a vote to issue the certificate of compliance. Prescott, aye.
Sandy, aye.
Mike, aye.
Do we have Marcella here?
Yeah, I said aye.
Okay. And Alan. Is Alan still here? I don't see him. So it's an unanimous vote of the commission members present.
All right. So Five Fork Farm has, well, I don't know, if maybe those of you that drive by North Street can tell me if they've started. But Marcella did go to their pre-construction meeting. I unfortunately was unable to make it because it was while I was gone last week. They were going to start shortly, and they might have to move the pond if they run into ledge, but they would move it further away from the stream and not closer. It would go a little bit more uphill, kind of to the northwest, but not so they wouldn't impact the stone walls. That's the direction they would go. Did anyone drive by to see if they've actually started?
I don't think they have, and as of Monday, there was no erosion control up either, so
Okay.
I didn't see it today either, but I was looking from above rather than walking by. So I don't think they've started, and I'm kind of surprised, but it sounded like they really wanted to get moving.
Yeah, and thanks for the plans. They did submit new plan. They are new. It's slightly different. They're still staying away from the stone wall, though. It's just a slightly different configuration. And once I have a PDF version, which I don't, I'll try to get that out so you guys can look at it. I think it's basically within the spirit of what we approved. Okay. And then 11 Hartford Ave. This is not a huge deal. I'll share my screen again. This was a determination for an addition to a house with a stream in the backyard. And they did a nice job of cleaning up the leaves that were near the stream. And we had asked them to put bounds in. And the bounds were supposed to be 30 feet away from the wetland line, and they're not. Well, two of them are not. One of them is. I did tell them they could go ahead. The building inspector already gave them their occupancy. I don't know how big a deal we want to make of this. The bounds are there. They are, within 5 feet of the edge of the wetland. They will, kind of delineate the wetland. The area was all lawn before, all the way up to the wetland. It's a small yard. And this is a determination, not an order of conditions. So there's no certificate of compliance involved here.
So if they put the bounds in a small yard, the bound's going to be in the middle of the yard?
If they put them 30 feet,
Correctly.
it would put them, 30 feet into the lawn. And the idea was, and I talked about this with them, that they weren't going to mow that area. They'd kind of leave it natural. But so they do have one of them, the one that's, and I guess I don't have a picture of that one. The one that's closest to this woods over here is 30 feet in. But the rest of them, there's one like here, and then this one are right up next to the wetland. And you can see it's small. It's not a huge lawn. It's a small area.
My only concern is if there are other owners in the future, would they know what the bounds are for and that they're not in the right spot?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's certainly they are in the wrong spot. There's no doubt about it. So
It would be hard to ask them to move them.
yeah, we can certainly ask them to move it. I think the contractor wanted to kind of finish everything up and leave. I think he's gone. But I will reach, and I know the homeowners have been super cooperative, so I think they probably want to comply.
Mary, do you have any feeling for how many square feet of buffer is outside of the current bounds right now? I mean, what's the impact of the bounds not being in the right place on protected buffer? Is it
Well, I mean,
feet or not many?
well, if you think about this lot is probably not subject to the bylaw, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's an older house. Probably it's, I would say maybe, trying to think how wide it was, maybe 50 to 70, maybe a little wider by let's say it's, 25 feet of that the bounds should have been 25 feet further into the yard.
They lose a lot of their existing yard, if the bounds were moved.
Yeah, they do lose a lot of their existing yard. Well, except
no, go ahead.
Except, well, this is okay. So this is standing. So they have, you can see this is this end standing near the wetland, and then it does go in this area. This is on it. They have a little bit of yard in here, but I'm pretty much standing. I think that the bounds would go somewhere through here. That's where I think they'd go. Or in the right spot.
I'd be concerned about any future, we really shouldn't confuse people by leaving bounds in places that they oughtn't be.
Okay.
But I I hate to make them move. That's a pain, but I think we should, make sure that bounds are where they ought to be, and they're there for a reason.
Yeah, and that's really, the contractor, should have followed the plan on that. He didn't ask me or consult. He just put them in. So.
Who's the contractor?
I do not remember his name.
Well, they were clearly marked on the plan. I think we should ask them to have the contractor,
Yeah,
fix it.
That's a good
I
idea.
hate to see him with a bound right in the middle of their teeny tiny yard, but
Well, that can be kind of meadowy, Just they'll still have a view of the street.
Petunias around it or something.
Yeah.
Do you have any other comments about whether we should ask the contractor to move the bounds into the right space?
I think that's reasonable. That was his job.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need to vote for that, Mary?
I don't think so.
Okay. That'll be good.
And while we're in the pictures, we can look at, this is the status of the VFW slope where it's seeded. It's been pretty dry, but the grass is it's coming up. So I was pretty pleased with that. We talked about where they're going to put the fence, and it seems like a good location. They're planning on doing chain link so you can see through it. So that's nice. So you can see if people are dumping. And they're going to try to put loam on that gravelly surface to plant grass there, but they haven't done that yet. I believe they're on our next meeting, but not this meeting for the VFW. All right. So now we can talk about beavers at 166 West River Street. And maybe I'll try to pull up a map for that while I'm talking. So a resident called asking for us to go in and pull the beavers out. It is, she said we have done it before. We did it in 2018 is what she said. It's in a pond that's on her property though. And let me see if I can pull it up to show you where it is. There it is. So here's 166 right here. And I believe the issue is here, the driveway crossing. It's complicated by the fact that this road goes to a town-owned well, I believe, or some kind of town-owned water building. Maybe this is the building. So we have an easement on the road, and Bill taught Grace a little bit how to do research, and we researched all the easements, and we didn't see anything conclusively that the town is required to maintain the culvert. I did notice, though, that there is some restriction, like there's a deed restriction on this. I assume this is the man-made pond here that's on the property, but I couldn't find any direct description of what that was. It said, oh, there's a restriction here, but not what it was. And then we also couldn't really find evidence that, like Grace looked through the vouchers, we couldn't find any evidence that we had paid for beavers to be removed in the past. So like when I talked to Board of Health, she's like, private property, it's their problem. But
I don't recall approving anything at this site.
okay.
Well, actually, we did many years ago. And this didn't involve construction of houses. at the time. I can see if I can find it, but they actually rebuilt that little dam that maintains the pond as part of that that filing. Could have been 20 years ago.
Okay.
Marcella, or Sandy, do you remember? I can't remember his name. He was in a butter, maybe on property. What was that, 190, maybe?
Is that starts with a G something?
He had a little greenhouse, and he bred some kind of horticultural plant. He was a really cool guy, but I'm almost sure that's his. He's passed now, but that was his house where Mary's cursor is. And he was really concerned that the pond and all the wetlands that it supports would be lost if the dam wasn't properly repaired. So.
Are you talking about the Gladiola guy?
Yeah, Gladiola. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name right now, but
it'll come to us.
so there's a filing somewhere, probably 20 years old or so, I would guess.
Okay, we were looking in 2018, so we're looking at the wrong time frame.
Yeah,
And were the beavers trapped out at that time? What was the story?
The homeowner, because this house is new, it's relatively new. I think it's like after 2015. The homeowner said that they'd had a problem in 2018 and the Concom did it, or maybe, and maybe we just don't have a record of it. Could have come out of the Board of Health beaver money. I don't know.
I just have no memory of voting to approve that.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it
building.
was
If it's water related, it's conservation. If it's public health related, it's Board of Health.
Yeah. Yeah, and so maybe the deed restriction on this pond may be connected to that 20-year-old filing or something.
But she's asking for us to do something.
Well, she's afraid the water's very high, I think, and she would like the beavers to be trapped. I haven't done a site visit yet, though.
Yeah, I'd much rather see a pond leveler if that's an option here. I don't know if we can, have her do that. Since it's private property, I don't think we should be putting resources into doing anything. But I wouldn't, if she does choose to do something, putting in a pond leveler might be, if she'd consider that, that would be preferable. But it really is her issue.
Pond leveler could be if it was feasible, and I think it is, and what I remember that little location, but it would be a long-term solution rather than having to trap out beavers every few years.
Yeah, if it's an additional expense to begin with, it'll pay for itself. The beavers will be back if they're trapped out.
Well, and there's 3 houses in there, so maybe they can pull together to get that done. I imagine it affects all of them.
I was thinking that too. There's actually 4 lots there.
Oh, okay.
But is there a house on the 4th lot? I can't tell. Oh, it's actually on West River Street. It's at the lower end. I can't see the numbers. Yeah, there.
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah, is that a 4th one?
Yeah, I don't know if that's connected to this one or not.
Okay. Well, in any event, she does have neighbors who might.
The other thing, sorry, Marcella, but the other thing to look up is the CR. See what it says.
Oh yeah, the West River CR.
Yeah. Yeah, it covers the pond and. You know what? Let me, as we're talking, let me find that.
Yeah, that might have been one of the documents I looked at, but I'm not sure. I looked at like 4D. There's a lot of restrictions on that property.
Well, if it relates to trapping the beavers out. That would be the Board of Health. If it's related to changing the water flow, that would be us. If it's on private property, we can recommend that the owner does something like a pond leveler. But if it's private property, we don't usually do anything.
All right, well, while Mike's looking, I can continue on with my report, I guess.
Okay.
And our 7:30 is not coming.
Okay.
343 Main Street. I can give you a little update on that. I did draft a deed restriction for him and emailed it to him today. He begged for more time to review it. He's still not happy. Feels like we had promised him earlier on that if he just restored things, he'd be okay. And so I talked to him like a half an hour. We went back and forth on that issue. What I think I need to do is remind him that he does still have an enforcement order. He's concerned that a deed restriction will make his property harder to sell. And I guess the point is, if the enforcement order is not cleared up, that could make his property harder to sell as well. I don't know. Anyway, that's where he stands. So he's going to think about that, and he will be on the June 14th meeting. Then 167 North Street. They have submitted their request for certificate of compliance, but we're waiting for an as-built on that from the engineer. So that's good. Engineer's working on that. I'm pleased with that. I drafted letters for Sam Marine Villa about certificates of compliance. And I don't know if anybody got a chance to look at them, if there were any comments. I think the only thing that I didn't say that I'm kind of wondering whether we should say is, because I realized you guys sent them a letter in 2014 asking them to request a certificate of compliance. So this has been going on 17, 18, 20 years almost. So we could say, if you don't take care of this, we're not going to issue any more partials. I mean, we did that last one, but it seems like they should eventually clear it up at some point. That's just my opinion.
Good statement, Mary. I agree.
Yeah. So, and I think I have a contact information for the homeowners association because I know someone who lives in that development and they gave me an address. So I'm just going to send a letter to the homeowners association asking them to maintain, if you got a chance to look at it, just to maintain the stormwater system and give an update on that and reminding them of their requirements of that. And then the letter to the owner is just asking for them to get the certificate of compliance taken care of.
Sounds good.
So if you guys are okay with that, I don't know whether you need to vote on it or not, but vote to send those two letters off.
Do a motion to send out the letters that Mary described.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Prescott, aye.
Tom, I.
Sandy, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay.
That's a unanimous vote of the members present. And Mary, did 343 Mendon Street want to continue it till our July meeting?
June 14. Yeah.
At what time?
I did not give him a time, so we can choose a time for him.
Okay, because we have 7 o'clock for the VFW, 7:45 for Robinson Family Conservation Restriction, 8 o'clock for Rivers Landing. So you want to put them somewhere in the middle?
Well, actually, so we're starting that. We voted to start that meeting at 7:30. So I think the VFW is at 7:30.
Okay.
And then, yeah, well, maybe we put them on at 8:30, 8:20.
How about 8:30? We're hoping the Governor's Landing will have something by then.
Yeah, he seemed pretty confident that he was going to have something.
So 343 Mendon Street at 8:30.
Yeah. And then the last thing, well, I met with Mike and Dave and Mike Antonis about a little bit about the GIS, and so we're making a little progress on that. Dave is going to kindly put together a kind of a base map for me to work with, and Mike's getting some of the files over, and we're going to try to work on using ArcPro instead of the ArcMap. So that was kind of the conclusion of that meeting. Mike, do you want to add to anything to that? Oh, he's muted.
Mike, you're muted.
Searching. Yeah, I know. I was searching. I'm searching for something, but no, I don't want to add anything. I think we're on the right path.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I copy Mary. I did check with Esri today just to make sure you can have two versions of their software on one desktop. Nothing will blow up if you do that. So.
Okay, great.
And I just emailed you the CR for the West River, but I'm still looking for the old filing.
Okay.
And the CR, it's worth reading. It does say something in there about maintenance of the pond.
Oh.
So.
All right. And then the last item is what we had approved last week, Dean Pond, the woman the neighbor to have horseback access to Clayton Farm Road. The lawyer sent the language for that, and I looked at it. I thought it was okay. I think I forwarded it on to everyone. It might have been last week that I sent that on, and it is in the packet. Would you guys like me to pull that up so you can look at it now, or are you guys ready to vote on it?
If it's a quick read, I wouldn't mind. I haven't checked it out, so if it's a
Yeah, let's pull it up. No, it's not too long, I don't think. Okay, so the town. This talks about the land. And so I guess they have a typo there, but traveling by horseback to, and then I guess we want to give them the name of the road. And then this, it will not, it ends, they can't transfer this to somebody else who owns the property. I don't understand the $1 per year, but I guess I assume that's standard.
Yeah, that makes it legal. It's just you have to have a dollar amount.
Okay. And they're requiring insurance. I guess that's mainly it.
I didn't see anything scary or objectionable, so that.
So we make a motion to accept the document as provided.
So moved.
So move. Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Sandy, aye.
Marcella, aye. Mike, I think, are you muted or are you there twice?
Sir Echo, there's, all right. I voted yes on that. I'm gonna just relog.
So Mike, were you a yes?
Yeah, I think he was a yes.
Okay. So unanimous vote of the commission members present.
And that was the last of my report.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mike, do you know you're up there twice?
Just still an echo? Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, you're on there.
You're on the screen twice.
You're making weird noises.
Log completely off. Damn it. Anyway, let me mess around with it some more, but I didn't find that West River Street filing, but I'm sure there is one. But it's, like I said, it's probably around 20 years, maybe even the late 90s. Anyway.
Okay, Grace, how about your report?
I first have a set of minutes to approve. May 10, I sent out the last version this afternoon. Share my screen. The one item that was highlighted that we wanted to bring up was in the minutes, it was recorded that Matthew McFarland said he cannot do anything within 200 feet of the wetland, which is factually incorrect, but that's what he said. And so Mary and I were under the opinion that it should stay as that, but we wanted to get the opinion of the commission.
Could we just make a note back in the minutes?
Sure.
And just keep in the minutes what it was he actually said, but point out that it was not the correct.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Any other comments on the minutes? Hearing none, let's have a vote to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Motion. Have a second.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris Scott, aye.
Tom, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, are you okay with the minutes?
I think he's frozen.
I wasn't here at that meeting, so that's why I'm not voting.
Okay. Mike, are you okay with the minutes? I think you're right.
There you are.
Mike, are you okay with the minutes?
Mike must be searching.
No, I'm not okay. I logged out of my computer, restarted it. Can you hear him, Echo?
No, you're good now.
No.
It's funny.
Sorry.
There's two mics on there, but if you're not hearing an echo, let's not mess with it.
The other mic
No,
disappeared.
What's going on?
The other mic just disappeared.
That's an
So
option. That's interesting.
Mike, did you approve the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a majority vote of the commission members present to approve the minutes from May 10th. And I think we still had the meeting minutes. Should we all do the ones from the meeting before? Are we all caught up?
I think we are caught up with the most recent ones. There's still a batch from the fall that I need to help Grace work through. So she's already given one to me to review, and I just haven't reviewed it yet. And I'm not going to make her do another one until I finish that.
And Grace, do we have any bills to pay?
Yes. Let me share my screen. This is our expense voucher. First, to note, the $4,000 did come back. We originally put it in the Conservation Trust Fund, but then we transferred the money into the expense account, which I can show the final balance after this. But these are the bills that need to be paid.
So, Jim, a motion to pay our bills.
So moved.
Second,
Second. Okay, let's do a voice vote. Prescott, aye.
Tom, I.
Sandy, I.
Mike, aye.
Marcella, I.
Okay, so unanimous vote of the commission members to pay our bills. Thank you, Grace. Anything else for your report?
Yes. Now I can share the balance sheet.
I switched it up a little bit, Grace, so it might not be what you recognize. So I think the main thing to note here is that the general expenses with the $4,000 in there and having paid back Mike and those two bills, we still have $1,000 in there.
Any questions about our account ledger?
Well, this is Bill. This looks like a good time for me to formally ask the commission to approve the $15,000 payment to Johnny Lindquist for the purchase or our part of the agricultural preservation restriction on the Maloney Lindquist land, the town line dairy. That check has been cut. It's in the treasurer collector's office, awaiting Concom's approval of this specific check. It was for $15,000. It fell from the 17 that you'd already approved.
Do we have any discussion about this expense? See, yeah, already approved it. Okay, let's take a motion to pay that bill for $15,000.
So moved.
Second,
Second. To all voice vote. Prescott, aye.
Tom, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Mike, aye.
Okay, unanimous vote of the members present. Thank you, Bill.
And then just quickly, I'll be delivering the check and the Concom signed and notarized signature pages to the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. And how about the Open Space Committee?
I've said everything that I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. How about land stewardship?
We just have a work date scheduled on Saturday, which partly because of the tick problem. We've had an inordinate number of ticks, and I'm reluctant to send people into any wooded area. We're going to be working at Heritage Park, getting the shed up to speed to store our materials in.
Okay, now, do we have anything for our ongoing items?
I'm not looking at that, but is the Reed appraisal on there on ongoing?
Yes.
So, so we received, I sent off 3 requests for proposals. We received 2, and a reply from the third that they could not meet our timeline. So I'd like to make a motion that we award the contract to Gail Mann. I believe it was $4,700, and authorize the Open Space Committee to administer the contract.
Okay, give me a second.
Actually, what is this for again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, it's an appraisal for the Reed property on Mechanic Street.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Other discussion.
Was that the lowest bid, Mike?
It was, yes.
Okay.
The other bid was $9,000.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, do we have a motion
I'll
to
make a
approve?
motion. I think it needs to be seconded.
Okay, do a second
Second.
toward the contract.
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, is there unanimous vote of the commission members present to issue the contract for the Reed appraisal to Mann Consulting? And do we have anything else? All right, because the next thing we have at 8 o'clock, which is in 5 minutes, which is talking about the 2 Dogwood Drive trail easement. So when that time comes about, I'll open the meeting myself, and then have the commission members who were at the meeting on site describe what happened, and then we'll take the comments from the abutter, Ms. Ryder. Do we have anything else?
If we're just killing a little time before 8 o'clock, Mike had sent a message that the George Hill Road survey had been done, and we do not have any encroachment onto town land, so we're good there.
Good, thank you.
This is Bill. May I ask a question about that?
Yes.
So, Mike, did they create a plan, or did they just put bounds in, or some bounds in, and take pictures of them?
Just stakes and pictures. And
okay.
I think we probably should go out there and maybe take a few more pictures, just to better document it. But those were the pictures that they sent. Yeah.
And do you know if the stakes they put in were just along the area we were concerned there was a...
That's what we asked for, yeah.
Okay.
It should go for, like, cover from roughly from the road to the back corner of the property.
Okay.
It looks like that stone wall they have on the property, that recent stone wall, seems to be right on the bound.
Yeah, and I think one of their stakes was next to one of the stakes we saw when we were out there, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and one additional update. The Housing Production Committee we discussed. I presented what we had discussed, and there were no questions or comments. But it's still going on. Anything else? For ongoing items, is there anything we can take off of here?
Is George Hill Road on there?
Yes.
Then we can take that up.
Is the Rockaway Meadows baseline work done?
Mike, you're muted.
Sorry. The field work is done, but I haven't done the paperwork for the addendum yet, so you can leave it on there.
Okay, so leave it on there. So will we leave the Reed property on here now? And I think we'll leave the housing production on there. This will be more things.
I'll take the 108 Grove Street COC off.
Okay. Do you want to leave 167 North Street on?
Yep.
Mary, I think we do need a vote for a reissue of one of the COCs that we missed from last meeting.
That's true. We could, yeah. Grace noticed while we were doing the minutes that we never voted on issuing the reissue of a COC for 108 Grove Street, and I think it was 652.
Okay, I made a motion. Do we have a motion to issue that COC?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second,
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
That's a unanimous vote of the members present. So, good catch, Grace. So it's good that we've got everything done before 8 o'clock. Do any of our guests have anything to discuss before 8 o'clock?
I think they're on for the 8 o'clock discussion.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hey, I just noticed if you press the three buttons, the three little dots in the middle of your menu,
Okay.
and go down and click together mode, we look like we're having much more fun.
Oh. Well,
I
we
don't
always
have
have fun.
together mode. I'm not allowed to have fun.
Wow. All right. Well, I just went to the yeah. Okay, Sandy. Thank you. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. So we have a discussion about the easement that the town has on the property near to Dogwood Drive, to Dogwood Road. And to start us off with that discussion, I just want to read an excerpt from the grant of easement that I have that was from the Worcester County Registry of Deeds. it says the perpetual and non-exclusive right to pass and repass by foot only over and upon that certain strip of land situated on lot 14A, shown on the plan of land entitled Crosswinds, modification to definitive subdivision in Upton, Mass. Dogwood Drive, scale 1 inch equals 40 feet, dated January 12, 2015, and prepared by June H., which such plans is recorded in the Worcester County Registry of Deeds at Plan Book 917, page 73, which strip of land is shown as pedestrian easement on that certain sketch plan entitled Easement, Plan of Land in Upton, Mass., which sketch plan is attached hereto and made a part hereof for the purpose of egress and ingress onto Johnwood Drive, and the strip of land being shown as 30-foot wide access easement on said plans. Said grant of easement is conveyed subject to and with the benefit of easements, rights and restrictions, and agreements of record, if any there be, including all of issued governmental permits and licenses pertaining to the permits made there herein, insofar as the same are now in force and applicable, being a portion of the premise conveyed to the grantor by deed duly recorded at the Registry of Deeds in Book 57006, page 203. So that's the parcel that we're talking about. So to make this a, I would say, productive meeting for everyone in attendance, what we should definitely do is hear from the members who were present at that site walk, and then hear from the owners of 2 Dogwood Drive, and then have a discussion after that. So, for the members who are present, please let us know what happened there.
This is Marcella. We, Tom, Django, and Mike Penko and I, we met there and we just confirmed the bounds, which, you know, pretty much confirmed what we had discussed in 2020 when went out there. At this point, the Land Stewardship Committee does not have plans to do work there. We're just, you know, putting things on hold for the moment.
Okay, Mike and Tom, anything you wanted to add?
This is Tom. No, we just talked about trimming the trees back on the back side so people could have access. The pine trees, you know, pretty much cover the easement. So we just were going to trim the back of the trees so that the homeowner would still have a screen and people would have the ability to walk in between the pine trees and the fence.
Mike, anything from you?
No, I think that summarizes it pretty well.
Now, Tom, my clarification would be any parts of the pine trees that were removed, would you take that away?
Yeah, well, we talked about that. We could take it away, or we could probably put it somewhere back out in the easement, away from, you know, not in her house, not on her property. You know, we could look at that. I'm not sure. I don't consider that to be a big concern. I mean, we could even put out some brush piles for wildlife, for that matter.
And just for a clarification from the Conservation Commission and the Open Space Committee and the Land Stewardship Committee, is that people usually are not there for any other reason than the reasons that were just described. And basically, people are not notified in advance unless there's an agreement to do so. So how about Ms. Reed? What were your comments? Because we had a list of 6 points.
I'm just there's someone on the meeting named meeting guest. Is that Annie Ryder or someone else? That's the only person that isn't identified by name.
We have Amy Bonita, and then Ernie Woods, and then we have Matthew M, and then we have a phone number.
Meeting guest. That's the person I'm asking about. There's someone who's a meeting guest. Who is that? Could you identify yourself? Okay. Well, then if that's not one of the writers, then they're not on.
Okay. Well, I guess in their absence, what I think we should do is go through the list of 6 items that were in the letter that went to us, as well as the selectmen. And I did respond to the selectmen and let them know that we were having a meeting for this tonight. Does everyone have this document? Or Mary or Grace, can you bring this up, please?
Yeah, I can put it up.
Okay, the first one said, for clarification, I think I may have misunderstood when Mr. Penko was discussing where to dispose of the potential tree trimmings. There's a tree in our wooded side yard that came down in a windstorm. This is spring and we are working on cleaning up the area. We are not okay with our property being used for disposal of rubbish. If the trimmings will not be removed off-site, please take them off of our property. And then in parentheses, it said, drag down to where known conservation land is. So, Mike, Tom, or Marcella, is that referring to the tree branches that you were talking about trimming?
Yes.
That's right. And I think we all kind of, the consensus was that we dispose of them somehow off of the property, off of the 2 Dogwood property.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or comments from anyone in the commission or the audience? Okay, number 2, the plan is still unclear for the easement. Please provide location and size of signage as from the initial discussions regarding ground bounds and easements language. We did not include a line allowing signage to be placed and where and how the trail in the wooded area will be prepared as this was not surveyed. So when we look at the grant of easement, is that they just read specific enough to explain where that is? I know Bill brought up pictures of where the easement is.
Yeah, there are bounds there, so we know where the easement is. I mean, we can follow, the bounds are easy to follow. I think her bigger concern, I may be wrong, but I think her bigger concern is about the sign. I don't, I don't know what size sign or where it's going to be for sure. We have a post, but we're thinking about moving it more. We're thinking about moving the post from where it is now, if I remember correctly.
But still within the easement.
That's one option. I don't want a suggestion has been made that we could actually put a sign basically in the sidewalk along the Dogwood cul-de-sac, and we wouldn't need any sort of permission from the writers to do that. Chris, we ought to take maybe a half a step back. And Bill can jump in here too. I mean, there's been some work done. We've reviewed the writer's deed and the easement, the one that you referred to. And, none of us are attorneys, but that deed gives us the right to pass the writer's easement that they grant the town. Gives a right of passage for the that little strip of land that is off of the cul-de-sac and through the 50-foot easement zone. I don't know, maybe you could put the plan back up, Mary, or somebody.
Yeah. Do you want that one or the plain one?
That one's fine. You can see the the strip that goes off of Dogwood, and then it goes into that 50-foot zone where the pine trees are, and then there's a 30-foot zone. We're unclear if we have permission to go through the 30-foot zone. We have, there are problems with the easements at this point, and we just, I think Bill jump in, but I think we possibly need some town council assistance on this, and then maybe need to go back to crosswinds, because normally when you do a trail easement, at least most of the other easements we have, there is a provision that allows the grantee, which in this case is the town or the commission, to basically put a trail through the easement and maintain it. We seem to be, we may be lacking that here. And that may be the reason for many of these requirements that email that we're going through is placing on the commission. So I personally think we can continue to discuss this, but we should maybe as a group vote to ask for some town council support, and also perhaps reach out to Crosswinds regarding the easements that currently exist.
Do you have any other questions or comments about those two suggestions?
I think that would be a good idea, especially since we don't really have any plans to do anything there in the immediate future. Let's just, cross our T's and dot our I's and make sure everything's.
I would think we should do what Mike suggested, getting town council to review this, and also getting Crosswinds to discuss what they were intending to. Do you have any other questions or comments from the commission? If not, do we have a motion to enlist town council and contact Crosswinds about this?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's do a voice vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, aye.
Alan, aye.
Sandy, aye.
Marcella, aye.
Mike, aye.
There's a unanimous vote of the commission members present. And who would like to draft up the letter to the selectmen or to the town council to retain town council?
We'll have to, we'll have to draft something up for the town manager.
Okay,
I can take a crack at it.
okay, thank you, Mike. And we'll pass that through July.
But, I just want to say one other thing. I didn't mean to totally cut off the discussion of the email that Annie sent us, but I thought we should probably preface the whole discussion with the need to understand these easements better. And I noticed there was a question or a hand up briefly by Ernie Woods. The hand came down, but if any of the butters want to ask questions or talk, or any of the people on the.
I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, Ernie, go right ahead.
All right.
Thank you.
Hello. Well, thank you for this. We're in the butter. We're out on Plain Street here, and we enjoyed the treed lot for many years before the development came through. I would explore back there. Was a lot of interesting things you could find: trees growing up through old car bodies and old wheels from trucks and stuff. It was kind of interesting. When the development came in, it made it nicer, and we understood at the time when it came in that. Well, I shouldn't say it made it nice. Yeah, they're nice homes. Let me say that. We understood there was going to be some open space involved, and I knew all the trails. I'd gone back there quite a bit. And then when this easement came in, we didn't get the road going across Dogwood, from Dogwood. Is it Station Street across the tracks? Because of for various reasons. So we get a lot of traffic that comes up on Plain Street. But we do I still do go for walks back there from time to time, and I do enjoy the trails. And it is, I can walk down the tracks. I know I'm not supposed to. It's trespassing, but I'm a big kid at heart, and we always did it as kids. And I'll take the trails down. There's a little brook that goes through, and then you come up. Again, I'm coming basically from the Plain Street direction. I come into Dogwood, and being a resident here for more than 20 years, and then stepping onto Dogwood Drive in that circle, it's uncomfortable. I don't want to trespass in people's yards. I don't want to impose on them, as I would respect them not cutting across my yard. But there's the fence has been put in. There's signs that were on the guardrail in this picture further to the south. Where there's a retention pond, and that sign is now gone. I've noticed another sign that would lead to the back area. I didn't even know that area existed because I hadn't, once the development went in, I hadn't explored down there. So I feel bad for the people that purchase the property, and you feel like there's a lot of people passing close by, but that was kind of the deal when all this was approved by the town some 10 years ago, whatever it was. And I hope we can all work together so that the external residents, such as myself, are friendly towards you and respect your property, and that you respect the easement so we can have access to some of the trails and the wildlife and such that's in the back. And it's unfortunate for any hard feelings that might be going on. That fence and the flower pots and such certainly do make it uninviting to it makes it look like it's somebody's property, and we kind of all respect that it was from day one meant to be a public space. The town has gone to great strides to change the zoning bylaws so that the properties could be smaller, yet there'd be more open space for everybody to enjoy. That's half the reason why a lot of us live out here in the beautiful town of Upton. So I did raise my hand before by accident, but I appreciate everybody looking at this and go through it methodically so that everybody's happy and it's amicable outcome at the end of it. I just thought I'd get my 2 cents in.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. We appreciate that. Any other comments from the audience or the commission? Okay, so we're going down to item number 3 on the email that was sent. Please provide names of those performing the work and the dates that tree trimming will take place. We will need to document the state of the
He
trees.
just said everything I would say. Like literally, he said everything I would say.
Oh, Amy.
Sorry, I didn't realize I unmuted.
Oh, no problem.
I just wanted to thank Ernie for speaking up, and he reiterated I'm in a butter next to Ernie on Plain Street. I also do work for the town in the building department. I did want to, reiterate as well that it was space that we were able to utilize based on permissions from the previous owner. And to Ernie's point, we did enjoy open space abutting our homes, and we did welcome this development with the concession that we would have these accesses to open space. And unfortunately, since it was pretty much built, it is, to Ernie's point, been blocked, restricted, comments made if you go down there to try to walk towards the easement. To me, a neighborhood is exactly that, a area full of neighbors. And that's what our goal is to be a neighbor with our neighbors and to enjoy the space together and hopefully be able to enjoy that space with them. So I hope that easement is cleared and in a respectable way so that everyone can use it in the new neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Amy. We appreciate that. Any other comments? Hearing none, we should go through this list to number 3, which said, please provide names of those performing the work and the dates that the tree trimming will take place. We will need to document the state of the trees immediately prior to this work. Is the town taking responsibility for any negative impact on the trees and will replace them?
I have a question. Who planted the trees?
I'm guessing that the writers.
The writers?
I believe Annie said they planted them at one point.
So Annie, so they planted them in the easement?
Correct.
Okay, so, as long as we trim them, I don't have a problem with it, but I mean, if they want to document the trees and stuff, they should document it, but I don't believe that's something that the commission needs to do. One of those trees is already on the way out. One of them is not doing well at all. It's not thriving, but we're not arborists. We're volunteers. We're just kind of trimming it so people can walk between the fence and the trees.
The first part of that statement I had a question about. He said, please provide the names of those performing the work and the date that the tree trimming will take place. Do we agree to that?
Well, we have no idea who would be doing the work. We just put out a call for volunteers. Whoever shows up, shows up. We can certainly provide date, a proposed date. Right now, there is no proposed date. We were originally planning to be working this Saturday, but we've changed plans and we'll be working at Heritage Park instead. So it's right now, we don't really, it's not an issue.
Now, Marcella, would it be overreaching to ask Land Search to email the writers if there's a work party going on near their house?
I don't have a problem with that. That's just common courtesy. Happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for number 3?
One thing about that though is I don't know what kind of advance notice. Annie seemed very perturbed by having received the letter so close to the last letter notifying her to be there to check the bound. and she didn't seem to feel it was enough notice. I'd like to know what exactly enough notice would be.
Yeah, because she did have at least a full, full day, almost 48 hours, not quite.
And I don't think we're obliged to, notify, but I do think it's a courtesy. We always notify the riders because we do go back there for the Earth Day cleanup to pull tires and other trash out of out of Central Brook. So we certainly have have a history of letting them know what we're going to be doing. But as I said, we don't currently have plans to do anything. I can't give her any dates. I don't know about giving the names of people. I'm not sure our volunteers, if the volunteers want to give their names to her on their own, that's fine. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I don't always know who the volunteers are going to be.
This is Mike. I think I'd add answers to some of these questions. Probably will be pending town council review and other potential work on the easement. I'm all for giving the owner plenty of notification and information like this, even if we don't have to. I think it's just we should try to be courteous and keep the owners of Two Dogwood in the loop. But whether or not all these asks are actually appropriate or not, I think we need to do some work with town council. I think it's fine to go through these, but just again, in the background is we need a little bit more information about the easements and what our actual requirements are based on the easements.
Yeah, Mike, this is Alan. I mean, I think the easement language is pretty clear, but to me, fundamentally, if you look at that picture that Mary had up earlier, it's clear that whoever installed the fence installed it in the wrong location. If you look at the arc of the fence, especially the rightmost side, you see that it's cutting across the easement, and the bow of the fence is clearly on the Upton Railroad property. The person who installed the fence was clearly bad at math and mismeasured, and they meant to put the fence on the inside arc, right? Because you can see that the fence follows exactly the shape of the inside arc, but they put it, 10 feet or 15 feet farther back. So whoever installed the fence simply installed it in the wrong place, and that's what caused all these issues and confusion. Had that fence been put in the right location, which would be on the inside edge of the easement, and then plantings along the fence there on the inside edge, there would be no issues. But as both Amy Bonina and Ernie Woods pointed out, the way it's currently set up, because that fence is in the wrong location, clearly makes it unattractive for people to use that easement. It's very confusing. You feel like you're going through someone's plantings. And ultimately, if I was the homeowner, I'd want to move that fence, put it in the location that it should have been in, and then all the problems are solved. It's really a self-inflicted issue here. And quite frankly, that fence, based on this imagery, is encroaching on another landowner's property.
Did this picture go to Annie? Do we know? I don't know that it did. Maybe we could ask her if this is her understanding of where the fence is and where the trees are in the easement. Do we think that she agrees with this understanding?
Possibly not, since I think when we were out in the field, there was talk about trimming the backside of the pine trees. But, given this imagery, it's probably the front side of the trees that actually needs to be trimmed, so if this imagery is correct, or the overlay is correct.
Yeah, this is Bill. I created the image, and I tried as hard as I could to make the plan fit over the matching elements in the near map imagery, but it's certainly not unlikely that it's not exact. So it is possible that the fence is entirely on their own property, not in part on the Grafton Upton Railroad property, which would of course just indicate that the only way to get by the trees would probably to be cut behind them. So, but yeah, no, this was just more for, but I think this particular image demonstrates the fact that the trees that row of pines is pretty much right in the middle of the easement area, so that in order to get through the easement, you're going to have to cut on one side or the other.
Yeah, yes, Bill, and the bounds, you can see that the bounds are in front of the pine trees. I mean, so we can find the bounds, on the side closest to their home. The bounds are easy to find. So the pine trees are clearly in the easement. Just trying to work with the landowner. I think if we just trim the back of those pine trees, that would work fine. And if we put a sign out front directing people, I think that pretty much eliminates the concern. I don't think we need to worry ourselves too much about the property lines here and there. I mean, just we need a path from the cul-de-sac, to the easement, behind the pines, in between the fence and out back. It doesn't seem that complicated to me. So
I agree with what you just said. Yeah.
I wish at work I can put applause and put thumbs up, and we don't have that access here. But I agree with it's again, Attorney Woods. I agree with your. It could be just a subtle mistake of where the fence was placed, but in this view to the west side or to the left of the easement from the circle, there's planters, there's other things. It's definitely an impediment to trying to walk through there. So I think if we all work together, I'd be happy to volunteer and clip off some of the back of the branches. But I think we have to go through the council and with the homeowner. Actually, can I ask another question about the property lines of this of the house? Is it along the easement up around the driveway, what I believe is a garage, and goes straight back, and then down to that shaded area? Or is it that line that has the circles in it? Is that the property line around the house?
I think it goes further back. The line with the circles is a conservation restricted area, but it may still be part of their property.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it definitely extends. The writer's property definitely extends beyond that line.
And it does extend over here too, right, Bill? It's on both sides of the easement. So when they're putting stuff here, it makes it hard to walk through, but really people should be walking here.
Yeah, I mean that little whitish area at the beginning of the easement.
Yep.
If you're familiar with the property, there's a stone outcrop.
Yep.
And essentially the stone outcrop seems to be pretty much the easement entry.
Oh.
Which is one of the reasons why I think it's a little confusing, because I think you're naturally inclined to walk around the stone outcrop and then up the slope beyond it.
Actually, when we were out there and we measured, you can walk next to the stone outcrop.
Okay.
This is a little deceptive to see on, it's easy to walk around that stone.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, it looks like the easement is
Probably
in,
a couple of feet on the right-hand side that you can bypass that outcrop, but it's tight.
Yeah, I just think at the very least, there's got to be either a sign with a map on it, or a couple of, bound type things buried in the ground but visible, to let people know where the easement is, so they feel comfortable they're in the right place.
This is Amy Bonina. Sorry, I raised my hand, but I just wanted to. I think part of the confusion in the past has been that the post that was put in that used to have a sign on it was to the left of where that easement is. So, we thought the easement was seemed blocked by, there was a fire pit put in, some chairs, some planters. So I thought that easement was more to the left. So as long as my request would be just to make sure it is, as you've mentioned, Bill, delineated, so we know exactly where the easement is and that we aren't trespassing on their property.
I can add something about that post and sign. We being the commission in 2020 is when we first kind of were in communications with the owners, and it was somewhat similar back and forth going on even then. And then the pandemic hit, and we I believe in a meeting in March of 2020, we decided to basically suspend discussion or activities here. But one of the things that the owners asked us to do was to remove the trail sign from that post, and I did do that. So that's where the sign is gone, and we're just now really getting back to this situation. But that's, if any of you remember, that's why it was paused 3 years ago. At that time, we were just starting to go to remote meetings, and no one really knew what was going to happen. So we just paused this situation.
I'll make, this is Alan, I'll make a further comment, same comment I made in 2020 when we went there. I think, looking at this, the best thing would be to try and negotiate a slightly different easement, the entrance to the easement, really move that easement entrance farther to the left between lot 14 there and the lot on the left, straight shot back to the property line of the railroad, and then straight shot across to the 30-foot easement. Because the way it is now, it basically bisects their lot, is in a very awkward location. If I was the homeowner there, I would just want to move that entrance, the entrance to the easement, farther left, and then have the folks farther back and just walk right along the property line to the railroad. That makes it really, really simple and a lot less complex than the current path that is drawn now. So, that's an option. I realize that's more complex than just exercising our duly recorded easement rights. But for the ultimate enjoyment of the public and the homeowner, that I think is an option that should be considered by town council to make it a much simpler type of scenario.
Hey, Alan, this is Tom. I'm not sure she would go for that. They own the property around the cul-de-sac and they're utilizing it. They have chairs and planters, and she seemed to suggest that they enjoy sitting up there. It's a little bit of an elevated position and they can overlook, I guess, the kids or whatever, a basketball hoop and stuff. So I'm not sure the homeowner would be open to that, to be honest with you. Just from our conversation when we were there last week, they've really kind of dressed up to the left of the easement. So
I think what Alan was suggesting was actually taking the easement further over to the left so that it's pretty much on the boundary of the neighboring property and the riders, so that it would be to the left of their elevated sitting area. Is that
Exactly
correct,
right.
Alan?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's what we discussed in 2020. And that area was kind of unused at that point. And, just a small path right along the property boundary between those two lots seemed to make the most sense at that time. And I think it would just make it a lot more amenable for the people who want to use it. And I think I'll provide a lot more privacy for the homeowner, because the current easement, with the way the fence is and the trees are, I think is really confusing. I certainly wouldn't want people to walk on the inside of my fence if I was a homeowner there. That makes no sense at all. You put a fence up so people walk on the outside edge of it. But while town council is looking at it, I think that's a valid proposal, is to really move the entrance of that easement farther over. But again, that's, I understand it completely requires more work than just exercising our duly recorded rights to be able to traverse over that easement for the public.
Chris, you're muted.
Good now. Okay. I don't know what you could hear or could not hear, but I was a little disappointed that Annie was not here tonight, because I made sure that she knew that we were talking about this tonight. So any of these suggestions that we're making could be more productive if she was hearing them now. But at this point, it's all going to be contingent on town council's review. Anyway, so number 4, so regarding the trimming of the trees along the fence, our suggestion would be that no change to the appearance of the trees on dogwood side would change. Additionally, we would expect the appearance from all other sides be clean, tidy, and professional looking. Does that sound something like that we could agree upon?
Hey, Chris, if we're going to have ask town council to review this, I think we should probably hear what they have to say and then address it after that.
Okay.
I would
Okay, that's
agree.
a good
We really don't need to continue the discussion, especially since the writers aren't here to contribute.
Yeah, that's a good point. We should table this discussion until we get town council's review, and hopefully the writers will be here as well. The only thing I wanted to mention with number 6 and going towards the end is the Conservation Commission is not intending to be hostile in any way, And we work hard to work with our neighbors in any situation. So we're not intending to be hostile or not, I would say, we're not meaning to be, we always want to be good neighbors. And that's the idea with the easement, that it's for everyone's use. And our goal would be to make that useful for everyone in the public. So with that said, what we should do is have town council review this, and then we'll table the rest of this discussion until we can have that review and also get the writers' input. And Mary, will you be able to forward the image that Bill put together to Annie?
I can, and I'll ask her. I'll ask her if she wants to have a conversation with the committee, like be on the next meeting or something, I guess.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah, I have just one thought about summarizing the request to town council. Does the commission want to review it in draft at the next meeting?
Yes.
I can draft it, and maybe Bill and I can draft it. And but I think it might be a good idea if the commission just reviewed it before we send it to town council.
Okay.
Just so everyone understands what is going on here.
Okay. Do we need a vote on that?
Well, we already voted to send an inquiry to town council through Joe. But I would just suggest, if there's no objections, we slow this down just a little bit and give the commission a chance to review what's being sent to the town manager and town council.
Good idea. So,
Actually, sorry that Annie wasn't here today as well. I was one of the group that was doing the cleanup work in Center Brook on Earth Day, and if I inadvertently trespassed on the property, I am very sorry about that. If it were brought to my attention, I would have immediately left your property.
I think we the
Hey,
volunteers.
Chris, you're on mute again. Chris, you're on mute again. Sorry.
maybe we can put this under our new items. Reviewing the draft letter to town council. That could go under new items. And then sending Annie a copy of the image that Bill put together. Any other comments or questions from the commission or the audience? Okay, because I do appreciate everyone's interest and work that people did in preparing for this discussion tonight. And so, and Mary will wait until we hear from you if Annie wants to be on the next meeting to discuss this at all. Okay. Hearing none. No other comments? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, thank you, everyone.